No one could explain why the dog followed her. From the narrow street of Enugu to the busy market square. From the quiet stream at dawn to the echoing walls of the church. The dog was always there. Silent. Watchful. Loyal. It was meant to shame her. But somehow, it guided her instead, as though evil itself had lost control of what it created. People whispered when she passed. Children pointed. Women crossed the road. Men laughed behind their hands. And standing behind it all was a woman whose heart was darker than the night. This is the story of Amina, the girl cursed by wickedness, tested by suffering, and lifted by destiny. Once upon a time, in the beautiful city of Enugu, there lived a young girl named Amina. She was not rich. She was not powerful. But she was beautiful in a way that could not be hidden. Her beauty was not only in her face. It lived in her eyes, soft eyes filled with kindness. Eyes that saw pain in others. Eyes that forgave too easily. People often said, even if Amina wears rags, her spirit shines. But beauty, in a cruel world, can become a curse. Amina was an orphan. Her mother died when she was very young, leaving behind only memories and a gentle voice that lived in Amina's dreams. Years later, her father, a wealthy businessman known across Enugu, died suddenly in a strange motor accident. The day her father was buried, Amina's life changed forever. After her father's death, Amina was left in the care of her stepmother, Madame Sua. Madame Sua was a woman with a smiling face and a wicked heart. She dressed well. She spoke softly in public. But inside her lived jealousy, greed, and cruelty. She had 2 daughters of her own, lazy girls who loved comfort and hated effort. Though they wore fine clothes and attended good schools, they lacked grace. Their laughter was loud. Their hearts were shallow. Every time Madame Sua looked at Amina, her hatred grew. Because Amina was more beautiful, more graceful. And people noticed. Worse still, Madame Sua feared what Amina represented, a future where her own daughters would be overlooked, and her control over the household would slip from her hands. Soon, Madame Sua turned Amina into a servant in her own father's house. While her daughters slept on soft beds, Amina slept on a thin mat in the kitchen. While they wore silk and lace, Amina wore torn dresses. While they went to school, Amina scrubbed floors until her hands bled. And Madame Sua watched it all with satisfaction. Sometimes, she smiled sweetly at visitors. Sometimes, she prayed loudly in church. Then she returned home and tightened Amina's chains. One afternoon, news spread through Enugu. A wealthy suitor had come asking for Amina's hand in marriage. When Madame Sua heard this, her heart burned like fire. How, she hissed. How can this orphan marry before my daughters? That night, as she sat alone in her room, jealousy took full control of her mind. She decided that Amina must be destroyed, not beaten, not sent away, but humiliated beyond repair. Under the cover of darkness, Madame Sua visited a feared juju man on the outskirts of the city. The man's eyes were dark and empty. I want a charm, she said, her voice shaking with anger. A charm that will make a dog follow her everywhere. She paid him heavily. That night, while Amina slept on the cold kitchen floor, Madame Sua crept in and released the charm where the girl lay. From that day on, everything changed. The next morning, a large dog appeared. It followed Amina to the market, to the stream, to church. No matter where she went, the dog followed. Quiet, obedient, protective. It embarrassed her, yet it never harmed her. It frightened others, yet it shielded her from danger. At first, Amina was confused. Then people began to whisper. Madame Sua spread lies like poison. She has a dog husband, she told them. She is cursed. Soon, the city turned its back on Amina. She lost her job. People avoided her. Men mocked her. Every night, Amina cried and prayed. Sometimes she whispered through tears, "God, have you forgotten me?" Then she wiped her face, rose again, and endured. And every night, the dog lay beside her, guarding her. One morning, another wealthy suitor arrived. The dog barked loudly. Madame Sua cried fake tears and told lies. The man left in fear. That night, Madame Sua laughed. "No man will ever marry you," she said. "You already have a dog husband." She then forced Amina to sleep outside. That night, snakes crawled nearby. The dog stayed awake. The next day, Madame Sua sent Amina to fetch water with a cracked bucket. At the stream, Amina met a young man named Chidi. Poorly dressed, but clean. Kind. He spoke gently. He listened carefully. When the dog attacked, Chidi stopped it with one hand. The dog disappeared. Just like that. Chidi helped Amina often. He fixed things. Encouraged her. Sometimes he would leave suddenly, saying only that he had important journeys to make. Amina never questioned it. Slowly, quietly, love grew. Amina realized it one evening as she watched him walk away. Her heart tightened, and she understood she loved him, even if she dared not speak it aloud. Madame Sua hated him. She insulted him. Humiliated him. One day, she poured dirty fish water on both of them, mocking their poverty, smiling as neighbors watched. Her daughters laughed loudly. They announced that one of them would marry the wealthy man who once came for Amina. Weeks later, the wedding took place. Music filled the compound. Food overflowed. But Amina was hidden away, washing plates, hungry and forgotten. That night, she cried until she fell asleep. The next day, after waking up tired and hungry, Madame Sua sent Amina to the stream to fetch water. On her way there, she saw an old woman carrying a huge basket alone on her head. Amina could see how much the woman was struggling with the heavy load. Moved by compassion, she approached her and offered to help. The old woman smiled warmly and thanked her. Amina carried the basket for her. They walked together for a while. Then the woman asked a question Amina never expected. "My child, do you know that you are a queen?" Amina stopped and stared at her in shock. "A queen?" Amina asked, laughing lightly. "How can a queen sleep on the floor? How can I be a queen when I go to the stream every day to fetch water?" The old woman smiled. "Destiny delayed can never be denied." A breeze passed suddenly, lifting dust from the road. They walked a few more minutes until they arrived at a small house near the market. Amina dropped the basket. The woman revealed a shocking truth, that Amina's stepmother was the one behind the evil dog. "My daughter," the woman warned. "Never tell anyone what I have just told you, or your season of joy will be delayed once again." Amina promised to keep it to herself and returned to the stream. By the time she returned home, it was evening. When she arrived, Madame Sua confronted her angrily, accusing her of being a shameless prostitute. "I know you are coming from a man's house," she shouted. Amina tried to explain that she had helped an old woman, but Madame Sua refused to listen. She threw Amina out of the house, even though it was already late evening. With nowhere else to go, Amina wandered through the quiet streets of Enugu. Her feet were sore. Her heart was heavy. She decided to go to Chidi's house. But when she arrived, she was told he had traveled urgently. Her heart sank. She returned to the old woman's house, but no one there knew her. Amina stood there in shock, unsure of what to do. Then she remembered her mother's only sister, who lived in another village. She pleaded with the people nearby, and they gave her some money to help her on her way. She arrived at the park and boarded the next bus to Oji River. It took her hours to reach, but eventually, Amina arrived in the village and made her way to her aunt's house, which was just a short distance from the bus park. Aunt Chisholm was overjoyed to see her. They sat together as Amina recounted everything her stepmother had done, how she had been treated like a servant, her life made miserable, and every act of cruelty that had haunted her. Chisholm's heart sank as she listened. Memories of the day her sister died came rushing back, the moment she had rushed to the house with tears streaming down her face, determined to take Amina in and raise her as her own. But Amina's father had refused, holding his daughter tightly. "No," he said firmly. "She's all I have left of her mother. I will take care of her myself. She will never lack love, and no one will ever harm her. As long as I live, she will be protected." Chisholm had respected his decision, though fear had weighed heavily on her heart. Now, years later, seeing what Amina had endured, that fear returned with full force. Tears welled up as guilt wrapped around her chest like chains. If only I had insisted, if only I had fought harder, she thought, her heart breaking into a million pieces. For Amina, though, a sense of freedom and relief filled her chest, even as a lingering worry tugged at her. What if he is out there, looking for me? Seeing her concern, Aunt Chisholm gently asked what troubled her. Amina confessed that she had met a man she had fallen deeply in love with, and how she had left the village abruptly after her stepmother threw her out into the night. She told her aunt about searching for him, only to find his house locked. Her voice soft and full of worry. Amina pleaded for permission to visit him soon, just to make sure he was safe. Chisholm studied her for a long moment, then smiled gently. "My child," she said, "I would give you the money myself, but I don't have any at the moment." Amina's face fell, and seeing the disappointment flicker across her niece's face, Chisholm reached for her hand. "But," she continued, "if you help me bake more cakes for sale tomorrow, I will give you the money you need to go see him." Hope ignited in Amina's heart. "I will do it, Auntie," she said eagerly. "I'll bake as many cakes as you want." That very night, she worked tirelessly beside her aunt, mixing flour, lighting the fire, and baking cake after cake. For the first time in years, the pain of her past felt distant, hope had returned. The next morning, Amina woke early and insisted on accompanying her aunt to the market. "Let me help you now," she said softly. "The faster we sell the cakes, the sooner I can repay your kindness." Her aunt smiled and agreed. The market in Oji River was alive with energy. Women called out their prices, children ran between stalls, and the smell of roasted corn filled the air. Amina sat beside her aunt, arranging the cakes neatly on a wooden tray. "Fresh cakes. Hot fresh cakes," she called shyly, her gentle voice capturing the attention of passers-by. Her warm smile charmed the crowd, and soon the cakes were selling faster than her aunt had anticipated. Minutes later, while delivering cakes to a nearby shop, Amina noticed a framed photograph on the wall, a young man she instantly recognized. Her heart skipped a beat. She asked the shopkeeper quietly, pointing at the photo. "Please, ma'am, who is this man?" The woman smiled proudly. "Oh, you don't know him? That is Prince Chidi, our next king." Amina felt the world spin around her. "King," she whispered. The woman nodded. "Yes. Our king passed away suddenly while the prince was away. He returned immediately and will be crowned soon." Amina's knees weakened as she tried to process this revelation. Could this really be the same man she had fallen in love with? The boy she knew was now a prince, one of the wealthiest young men around. Confusion and sadness washed over her. That day, she returned home before sunset, her steps slow, her shoulders heavy. When she reached home, she did not greet. She did not smile. She sat beside her aunt with a heavy heart, wondering if love could still exist between them as it once had. Her aunt studied her for a while before speaking. "My child," she said gently, touching Amina's hand. "What did you see at the market that stole your joy?" Amina swallowed hard. "Auntie," her voice trembled. "The man I told you about. I saw his picture today." "His picture?" Chisholm asked, confused. Amina nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "They say he is the crown prince, the next king." Chisholm's mouth fell open in shock. Amina broke down. "What if he never loved me?" she cried. "What if he only helped me out of pity? How can a king choose someone like me?" Chisholm pulled her close and held her firmly. "Never speak like that again," she said with strength. "Do you think kindness has no value in a palace? Do you think a man like that is blind?" Then she paused. "My daughter, go to the palace." Amina looked up sharply. "The palace?" "Yes," Chisholm said. "Go and see him with your own eyes. Do not let fear answer questions only truth can answer." After a long silence, Amina nodded. 2 days later, Amina stood before the palace. The gates were tall and guarded, shining beneath the afternoon sun. Her heart pounded. She did not know how to announce herself. Then a voice rang out behind her. Well, look who we have here." Amina turned slowly. Her half-sister stood there, dressed in fine clothes, beside her wealthy husband. They carried expensive gifts meant for the palace. "So this is where you ended up," her half-sister sneered. "From washing plates at my wedding to begging at palace gates." People began to stare. "What are you doing here, witch?" she shouted. "Did your useless husband abandon you?" Laughter spread through the crowd. Amina stood frozen, shame burning her skin. "Guards," her half-sister called mockingly. "Escort this mad girl away before she brings bad luck into the palace." Suddenly, drums thundered from inside the palace. The crowd fell silent. A royal procession emerged. At its center stood Prince Chidi. His eyes scanned the courtyard, and then he saw her. Amina. Being humiliated. Something dark flashed across his face. "What is going on here?" his voice thundered. Everyone froze. He walked straight to Amina and stood beside her. "Who dares speak to her like this in my palace?" Her half-sister collapsed to her knees. "My lord, she is cursed." "Silence," Chidi commanded. "You called her cursed in my palace." The guard stiffened as he spoke. "This woman and her husband have insulted the future queen." The courtyard gasped. "Seize everything they own," he ordered. "Their wealth, their land, their houses. Let nothing remain." Her half-sister screamed in horror as memories flooded her mind. The poor man at the stream. The one they mocked. The one they poured dirty water on. "It's him," she whispered. "It's the poor man." But it was too late. Chidi turned to Amina and took her hand. "My queen," he said softly. "Forgive me for leaving without a word. Fate brought you here." Tears streamed down Amina's face. "I thought you would not want me anymore." He smiled gently. "I did not find a princess in silk," he said. "I found a queen in rags." Before everyone, he asked her to be his queen. Their wedding shook the land. Drums echoed for days. The girl who once slept on bare ground now sat on a golden throne. Amina remembered the old woman who once called her a queen. She finally understood. As for those who mocked her, their riches vanished like smoke. And so the land learned a lesson whispered through generations. Destiny hides greatness in rags. Kindness never goes unrewarded. And wickedness always returns to its owner. If you were in Amina's place, would you have dared to walk into the palace, or let fear decide your future? If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more powerful African folktales that reveal destiny, justice, and hope. See you in my next video.